Welcome, everyone. My name is Stella, and thank you for tuning in to BB and Yaya, where you will hear real-life stories which people have written to us detailing their life experiences, feelings, emotions, and reactions along the way. The people who write into us share their stories in hopes of connecting with others who may be able to give advice, such as yourself. Please share your comments, thoughts, and solutions below for each life story. Here on BB and Yaya, we will also share our opinions with the hopes that we can help those who share their stories with us. If you have a story to tell, please send us an email in the description box below. The story I have for you today deals with the topic of being a gold digger. Carla writes to us and tells her story of being someone who values expensive gifts over valuable friendships and relationships. At a young age, she didn't realize that she was a gold digger. She accepted and quite honestly demanded that her boyfriends lavish her with expensive gifts. It was only after she matured did she realize that what she was doing to men who showed her affection was not right, and that she needed to stop with her destructive ambitions. Material objects were worth more to Carla than the relationships she had with the men in her life. But I wonder if Carla actually learns her lesson at the end of her letter. How does she deal with her gold-digging ways? Does she stop because she realizes it's wrong, or does she merely convince herself that she is just an ardent fan of luxury items? What do you think? After listening to Carla's story, scroll down and leave your comments. And now, here's Carla's story. I was a professional gold digger, and I didn't even know it. Here's how it happened. We weren't rich growing up in my family. We weren't poor either. We were at the point where we just couldn't buy nice things throughout my childhood and adolescence. I never owned any luxurious items like necklaces, diamonds, or crystals. The most expensive thing I owned was my phone, and technically that wasn't even mine. It was a hand-me-down from my older brother, so you can see I never really had a taste of luxury. But when my first boyfriend in 8th grade bought me a gold necklace for our 1-month anniversary, I was ecstatic. I loved him so much more. Finally, I had a piece of jewelry, something I actually owned. I was so happy, and he could probably tell because the next day he bought me another necklace, which had little crystals all over it. He was quite rich, so he probably thought it was nothing, but I thought he was the best boyfriend in the world. I wanted more and more of those jewelry pieces. The next week we went to the mall, and we were passing by a jewelry store, so I took my chance. I walked up to the display window and started to really stare at these earrings. They were gorgeous. My boyfriend came up and asked what I was looking at. I took a leap of faith and asked him if he could get me those earrings. He looked at the price tag, and they were more expensive than his typical gifts, but I batted my eyelashes and smiled sweetly at him, and he relented. He bought them for me. I had never felt more alive. Looking back now, what I had done was not fair to my boyfriend. But at the same time, I thought of it as sort of a game. What would he buy for me next? What could I do to make him buy even more expensive gifts? How could I manipulate him? I guess it was at this point that I became a gold digger, and I didn't even know it. I broke up with that boyfriend a month later because he had refused to buy me this diamond necklace. So I told him we were through. It was over, and I was on the search for another boyfriend. A couple of boys asked me out in that time, but I could tell they weren't that wealthy. How could they buy me any presents if they didn't have any money? I wouldn't waste my time with them. But I did find my next project in the 10th grade. He was a new kid who was absolutely loaded. I immediately started flirting with him, complimenting him, and acting nice. It wasn't long before we started dating, and within a week, I had already managed to convince him to buy me a new pair of heels. It went on like this for years. I would snag a boy and admire all the gifts he showered upon me, then dump him if he couldn't continue giving me gifts. Then it was on to the next one. When I left high school and began working, I started dating people who would give me jewelry, clothes, and vacations. I loved all these presents, and sometimes I admit I wasn't overly fond of the men, but the gifts were so amazing. I just loved them too much to part with them. I sacrificed my disgust for some of these men for the beauty of the presents. One time there was a guy who always said the word Geronimo. Every minute of the day I thought I was going to go insane from spending time with him. But he did buy some really nice presents, so I put up with it. I found myself dating richer and richer men each time. By the time I was 25, I had raked up an enormous list of rich ex-boyfriends. I found myself staying in relationships I knew I wasn't comfortable in just for the presents. I know that's bad, but at the time I was too infatuated with the presents. There was one boyfriend, Mark, who had a really bad temper. I admit I was scared of him sometimes, but he gave me the best presents. Diamonds, expensive nights out, and luxury trips. Mark and I went out to dinner one time, and he screamed at the waitress for forgetting to put ice in our drinks. I was so embarrassed, and I wished I could have apologized to the waitress for his behavior, but I knew that would make Mark mad, and people were staring at us. I wished Mark wouldn't be so hot-tempered, but later that evening he gave me a huge diamond necklace, so I immediately forgave him. He must have cared about me if he gave me all these nice presents, but now I have a feeling that he didn't. Once, my patience and perseverance really were challenged when I finished work and walked home to find Mark kissing another woman. He was cheating on me, and I was furious. I yelled and screamed at him, throwing all of his gifts across the room, smashing glasses in my rage. He got mad too for my tantrum and said it was my fault. I couldn't believe I would date a guy like Mark. Later that same night, I was in bed crying when he came in and said he was sorry, that he would never do it again. I told myself I wouldn't forgive him, but then he took something out of his pocket and handed me a gorgeous diamond necklace. It was so beautiful, and as soon as my eyes landed on it, I just had to have it. So I told him I forgave him, even though in actuality, I hadn't, but I accepted the gift. I shouldn't have done that, but back then, I would have done anything for a diamond. Anything. Mark and I continued dating, but then one day I stumbled upon a YouTube video on gold diggers. It was titled, "How to Know If You're Dating a Gold Digger." I don't know why I started watching it, but I was so intrigued. I clicked on it, and I was shocked to find out that I possessed all of the same qualities as these girls that they called gold diggers did. I wasn't a gold digger. I wouldn't do that, right? But then I realized I was doing everything the same. I was accepting gifts, and I didn't love Mark, but I stayed anyway. I let him buy everything, pay for dinners and trips. I also dressed up to please him. I was wary of any other girl taking him because of his wealth. I was anxious to marry him to ensure he didn't leave me. Was I really a gold digger? My friends used to joke that I was. I couldn't be, but as I sat in my bedroom looking around at all the presents in my possession, presents from all of my ex-boyfriends and many more from Mark, I realized I was kidding myself. Of course I was a gold digger. The question was, what would I do about it? I decided to push the thought away because the day I watched that YouTube video was the day of my birthday party. Mark was organizing it for that night, and I posted it on my social media. I wanted it to be the best birthday party ever. I told everyone and anyone to come whenever they wanted and to bring however many people they wanted. We were going to have the time of our lives. Well, that's what I thought. I was at the party wearing a silky green dress, which Mark had bought for me, and I was getting a drink at the bar. Many people had come, all with a present in hand for me. I was the happiest I'd ever been. Everyone was giving me presents. As I looked at the table full of presents towering high, I totally forgot about my worries of being a gold digger. But then I froze because across the room, wearing a suit and tie, was my old boyfriend from high school, the one from 8th grade. Then I turned my head and saw my other boyfriend from 10th grade. Then more and more from all my years leading up to now. It seemed like all of my exes had come to my birthday party. I freaked out. I thought that they were going to ruin the night. I was also scared of what Mark might do if he realized all of my exes were there. They were all standing there, literally all 20 of them. "What are you doing here?" I asked in a trembling voice. My 8th grade boyfriend handed me a wrapped present. Then all of the guys followed suit. I had a humongous pile of presents beside me. I was so confused because my 10th grade boyfriend spoke up and said, "Please come back to me. You deserve a guy like me." I was silent, at a loss for words. Then my other ex-boyfriend from last year spoke. "No, you deserve me. I'll buy you all the gifts you want." Then another and another. Look at my wallet. I'll give you all of this money." Their voices rose into a cacophony of shouts, arguments, and claims. They all started a sort of bidding war, asking me to slip on diamond bracelets and necklaces. They wanted to buy my love. I was so overwhelmed and I couldn't believe it all. My exes were fighting over me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether I liked it or not. Then I spotted Mark. His face was red with anger. He stormed over, screaming at them to get out of there. He started shoving them around, and then there was a brawl. All of a sudden, they were moving towards the table full of gifts. I screamed out to be careful, but it was too late. They all collapsed onto the pile of gifts, crushing them all, ruining all of my beautiful presents. I started sobbing with grief. Mark saw my tears and his face seemed to swell up with rage. "She belongs to me," he screamed. "Get out of here." One look at Mark's angry face, they all left. Some of them managed to sneak me their phone numbers on their way out, but the others just walked away. I was left there with Mark and the rest of the party guests just staring at me. I felt humiliated. I stood there and told Mark that I wanted to go. He told the other guests I wasn't feeling well, but to still enjoy the party. He took me home and I plopped onto the bed, utterly exhausted. I had so many conflicting thoughts in my head. So this was what being a gold digger felt like? It was horrid. And then I thought about Mark. He had rescued me from the situation, but now I was at a crossroads. Should I stay with Mark and ignore my gold digger tendencies? Or should I break up with him and change my ways? I didn't know what to do. But as it turned out, Mark made the choice easy for me. I was out to lunch with my friends, and I saw Mark having lunch with another woman. I thought it was just one of his work colleagues. But then they held hands, and I knew he was cheating again. I decided then and there I had to end this and move on with my life. I stormed over, screamed at him, broke up with him, and when he went chasing after me, I broke the necklace around my neck and threw it into a nearby pond. It felt so good. I knew this wasn't really me. I knew I wasn't a gold digger. I just got distracted by all the gifts. But once I educated myself, I made a change for the better. Wow. Do you believe that Carla truly believes she is no longer a gold digger? Do you think she has any regrets about her choices of taking expensive gifts from men she didn't even care about? Do you think her habit of accepting expensive gifts from many men is a thing of the past? And do you think that just by breaking it off with Mark, she is cured from her gold-digging habits? What advice would you give to Carla? Do you have any opinions on gold diggers? You can leave your comments below. Thank you to Carla for sharing her story with us. We wish her all the best. Please remember to like and subscribe to Bibi and Yaya, where you will hear me read people's real-life personal stories and their life experiences. Also, you can read other people's comments, solutions, and opinions relating to the real-life situations which people share with us. And don't forget, if you have a personal story or issue which you would like to share with us, please send an email in the description box below. We would be happy to hear from you and offer advice on how to deal or cope with your personal experience. Also, please remember that your comments and opinions are welcomed. Share your thoughts and any advice you may have to those whose stories you hear. Just scroll down and leave your message. Thank you so much for joining us today, and see you the next time here on Bibi and Yaya.